All right. I think we're good to go. I think mic's working. Maybe the mic's working. I can't tell. You guys let me know. Can you hear me? Let's see. Hang on. I'm messing with things. Can you hear me? Am I coming through? I can't tell. I'm not getting any movement from the microphone, so I can't tell. Hang on. Did my microphone get changed out? I can't tell if it's working or not. I'm not getting any response, so I'm guessing it's not. Give me just a moment. Let's see what's going on here. You hear me? Okay, good. It's not giving me an indication that the microphone's working, so I thought it wasn't. So never mind. I guess we're all good. I panicked for no reason. All right, so this is the live broadcast. You guys made it. I'm live now, so let me get a few disclaimers out of the way. We'll jump into it. This is, like I said, a weekly live broadcast, most of the time Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central. This is where I am. If you have questions, you've been leaving comments I haven't been responding to because I'm not very good at that anymore. Go ahead and jump in here if you need to, because I do my best on this broadcast to answer every comment that comes in that's directed at me during the live broadcast. Not comment, I shouldn't say, the chat, the live chat itself. I don't have a topic planned. It's just a matter of responding to all of the chats that come through. And the only things I ask them, you talk about anything you want, but keep it family friendly, be polite, don't be hateful or rude, don't start cussing at us, any of those kinds of things. And all will be good. So we got Joy Guthrie here from Western Oregon. Good to see you. There's Martin Rabbitry says, hey, what tool do you use for rabbit dispatching, and where did you get it from? Where do you get it from? Okay, let's see. I've done it a lot of different ways, and there's a lot of different ways you can dispatch a rabbit. As far as tool, I don't really use any special tools. I've been using a high-powered pellet rifle. It's a 20 caliber pellet rifle, Gammo. I can't remember exactly which brand or which model it is right offhand. It's one of the Swarms. It has a little magazine that goes in it. So break barrel, spring-loaded one. And it works pretty well. I did not like using, I used a .177 caliber one a couple of times. I didn't really care for that one as much. It doesn't seem to dispatch them quite as well. This one does a little bit better. And I got that from like Academy. But, for the longest time, I used the broomstick method, and that works pretty well. It just does leave some bruising around the neck. And that's basically just I didn't use a broomstick, but, a long stick. I think I had a old handle from an old wheelbarrow or something like that I was using. And you set the rabbit down on the ground, you put the stick across the back of its neck, you step on one side, step on the other, grab its feet, and pull. And you're basically dislocating its neck. And it's pretty quick and humane, but it does bruise the meat up quite a bit around the neck. So sometimes that's a little bit of an issue. But I don't use any kind of special tools or special equipment. It's nothing that, you can do it a lot of different ways. Those are the two ways that I've seen people do it with, like a rope hanging from a tree with a dog chain, like a choke chain. And you basically put the rabbit's, a choke collar. You put the rabbit through that, tighten that down, and then pull really hard. It's the same basic concept. It dislocates the neck, and it's pretty quick and humane. They go pretty quick that way, but it does leave some bruising. So you can do it whatever works best for you. Hopefully that answers your question. Anyway, we got Joe Sandu here. Good to see you. Spider Rivas, Chris Mason, and Joy Guthrie. Good to see you guys. Billy Glass, good to see you too. Chris Mason says, greetings all. I hope everyone is well and healthy. So far I am. Hopefully you are too. Warchild, good to see you. And Jammin' Mike, Show Me Bunnies and More says, hey, I made it live. New Haven, Missouri. How about this weather? Yeah, it was crazy. We had, let's see, where's New Haven? I'm not sure where it is, but I'm sure you got pretty close to the same weather we did. Let me look it up on a map real quick and see how far away you are from me. Let's see. New Haven is over by St. Louis, so you're a ways away. But you probably got the same kind of basic weather that we did, which is yesterday. Yesterday? Yeah, yesterday, 84 degrees with a chance of snow. That was the forecast. 84 degrees with a chance of snow. You got 84 degrees during the day And then we had a cold front move through that evening and dropped to 27 degrees. So, I've got some fruit trees. I've got a couple of plums and a pear tree. And I was thinking the whole time, like, don't bloom out this whole spring or this whole, part of the year. I'm like, you always worry about your fruit trees blooming out and then getting a late frost or something like that. Well, yesterday, so far they hadn't bloomed out. Well, it got up to 84 degrees yesterday, came home and boom, all bloomed out. And then 27 that night. So who knows? I'll probably lose the blossoms, not the trees. The trees will live. But anyway, but yeah, it was pretty crazy. I don't remember ever seeing it. I may have, but I don't remember ever seeing a 60-degree drop in temperature in one day. But we're past that now. It wasn't nearly as bad today. It only got up to 45 yesterday. No, wait. It was day before yesterday. It was 85 and then got cold at night. And then yesterday was only like 45 or 50 degrees and got cold last night too. But today was much nicer. Today was like 50-ish degrees, more seasonal. Jennifer says, question. I have 7 baby bunnies and 6 weeks old. My question is, would it be okay if I add a 12-week-old rabbit in from the 6-week-old with the 6-week-old bunnies? So are the 6-week-old rabbits still with the mother, or have you weaned them off and got them separated out? If you've got them separated out in their own cage, it's probably fine to add a 12-week-old rabbit in there. But the thing at 12-week-old rabbit, especially if it's a male, it's going to start getting its hormones, if that makes sense. It may start trying to breed some of the younger rabbits. It may be a little bit of a problem that way. Just watch them. It's probably going to be okay. If it's a doe, make sure you don't add them into the cage with the doe. Add the doe into the cage with them, because does can get pretty territorial sometimes and they might get a little bit aggressive with them. But, try it and see. Just watch it for, a little while and make sure they're getting along okay. Joe Sandy says, Chris, besides your video, do you have any actual plans for your besides your video, do you have any actual plans for your coop, like measurements, or does anybody out there that made one have measurements? Oh, yeah, I've been asked for plans for that for a while, and I'm sorry, I just haven't put them together because I just don't build things that way most of the time. I just kind of get a picture of what I want and then I build it. But I don't know. Excuse me, let me grab a drink. I don't know if anybody actually has gone through the effort of trying to write up plans for it or not. If they do and want to share it, feel free, go ahead and do it. Usually when I build, I just kind of stick build, I just kind of have a basic idea and I build to that. Now, what I will say is, make sure you secure the things like your wire and stuff you're going to be putting on first and build to that size. So most hardware cloth is like 36 inches or 24 inches. So, you can go bigger than that or something like that. But I think 36 inches was the width of the hardware cloth. So you want to make sure that your hutch is that same width. You don't want to go wider and not have enough wire to make that span, if that makes sense. So, that would be the one thing I would say. I think mine are 6 foot long, I believe, and then 36 inches wide, roughly. And then I want to say they're probably 18 to 20 inches tall. I don't remember exactly how high I went. Maybe a little higher than that, actually. I don't remember. Maybe 24 inches or I don't know. Whatever's comfortable. Make sure it's enough that you can reach inside and it's going to be okay. I don't remember. I think I said in the video how high I went, but I don't remember now. I'd have to go out and measure it again. I'm sorry I don't have plans for it. I wish I did, because lots of people would like them, but I'm one of those that I can just look at something and kind of figure out how I want to build it and then just build it. Not that I'm a master carpenter, because I'm far from that. Sometimes that goes really, really wrong, but I'm not real big on having detailed plans when I go to build something like that. Now, if it was like fine furniture or something, then, well, you wouldn't want me building it anyway, but I would probably go a little bit more specific on the plans. Chester Hickman says hello to everyone and me. So hello to you too. David Lister says, Chris, rehash from last week. How do you like to process your quail? Plucker, spatch, or other? Okay, so I've never used a quail plucker before. I've heard they're out there. I don't know. It seems like a lot of work for not a lot of reward to me, but maybe it's worth it. Try it and see if it's your thing. So I will do it one of two ways. It depends. A lot of the times I just pop the breast out of them. I did a video on that a while back, where especially if I've got a lot of birds to process, just pop the breast out. Sometimes skin the legs out and take them off. And but because there's not a whole lot of meat to the bird other than the breast, and the legs are a little bit, not much. So I do it that way, or I'll spatchcock them, cut the spine out of them basically, and clean them out that way. Because if you've seen like Jasmine from Time and Timber, the way she does her quail, boy, they look beautiful when she's done with them. But I can't get my hands in there to clean them out, so I just don't mess with it. I just do it that way. Quail Corner Homestead says hi from Gretchen and Raymond in New Jersey. Well, thank you. Hello to you guys. Joe Sandy says, oh, it scrolled on me. I can't figure out where I'm at. There we are. Joe Sandy says, it was almost 70 here Tuesday and Wednesday mid-30s, 50-mile-per-hour winds and snow. Yeah. Show me Bunnies and More says, only in Missouri, talking about the weather. It's actually kind of funny you say that, because it doesn't matter where you live, and people in here can probably attest to that. It doesn't matter where you live in the country or probably in the world, but in the country at least, people will say the same thing. Oh, if you don't like the weather, just stick around for a little while. It changes so much only in this state. Is it like, it's funny because it's really not that different from anywhere else. Everybody gets crazy weather from time to time, and they always think they're the only ones that get it. But yeah, it was pretty nutty. That's for sure. George says, hello all, another lunch live stream. That's right. You're in Australia, aren't you? If I remember right. And it's your lunch break and you get to join us for the live stream. Well, thank you for spending your lunch break with us. I appreciate that. Joe Sandy says, I really want to build one, but I feel more comfortable with plans. And does it have to be painted? Is pressure treated a no-no? No, pressure treated is probably fine. I don't think there's going to be any problems with that. It depends on who you talk to, but some people, I wouldn't use pressure treated for like rabbits because they'll chew on things and you don't want them to. I wouldn't use wood for rabbits. I mean, to hang the cages, the frame to hang the cages, but the cages themselves, I wouldn't use as wood. But pressure treated should be okay. It depends on how it's pressure treated. There are some chances that it could put off some fumes and things like that. Birds are more sensitive to that, but I don't think it's really going to be a big problem. I paint mine because I just want it to last longer, and painting, does that. It protects it from the weather. So it doesn't necessarily have to be painted. You could get away with pressure treated, I'm sure. I think I'm trying to think of what to tell you to. I think I use like furring strips for a lot of that because they're cheap, and if it's not structural, I think I use 2x4s for the basic frame. If you've watched the video, you kind of know how I did it. I thought I gave measurements as I was going through it, but I know that's not necessarily easy to watch the video, take the measurements down, and keep going. I'm sorry. I wish I had them. If I knew, if I could just jot them down really quick, I'd do that for you, but I don't have them. Hello, Governor says, hello, question. What do you think is the lowest temp quail can handle in an outdoor hutch? Oh, I don't know. Probably around, oh, good grief. I don't even know. 60 below, maybe. I don't know. They're incredibly hardy. So you really don't have to worry too much about low temperatures. Unless you live in like Siberia or something like that. As long as you give them, even then, probably don't have to worry about it. But as long as you give them a windbreak somewhere to get out of the wind and shelter from that, they're fine. The cold doesn't really bother them at all. Jacob says, just got here. Anyone have any tips on how to get a doe to lift? He's all for it and gets to work, but she just lays on the side of the corner and doesn't do anything besides lay or sit there. Yeah, it's a pretty common issue that you're going to run into with does. A lot of times your bucks are usually all excited and ready to go, and the does just won't lift for them. It's very common. It comes around all the time. So there's a couple of things that you can try to do. Usually that's an indication she's just not ready to breed. So you can try, persistence, just try to breed her. If she doesn't want to breed, put her back in her cage, try again, maybe that evening, the next morning, the next evening, the next morning. Usually after, a handful of tries, she's going to go ahead and lift for him, because it's that act of him trying to mate with her that gets her kind of in season, so to speak. You could try to add light, extend the daylight a little bit for her and see if that helps her. There's a trick, an old trick that, it didn't work for me the last time I tried, but but I hear so many people talk about it. There's got to be something to it. The You put her in a pet carrier and drive her around the block a couple of times and bring her back, put her in the cage with the male and see if she lifts. That can sometimes help. You could try swapping them out if you need to, like putting her in his cage and him in her cage for a little while, and then swapping them again, and then putting her back in his cage the next day. Something like that can help. But a lot of times it's just a matter of you have to be, just keep trying, be patient, and eventually she'll lift. Sundial Fragrance Review says, hello, Chris and all. Well, hello to you too. Thanks for joining. Joe Sandy says, I don't have any sheet metal just hanging around. Can you think of any other type of material I could use for the roof for cheap? I haven't priced out any kind of, I don't know. Check Craigslist. You never know. You may be able to find some sheet metal laying around. That's how I got mine. I found it. It was a Craigslist ad for somebody that tore down a shelf. Sorry, I was looking over here because I was trying to highlight the comment so I knew which one I was on. I got mine. Somebody had torn down a shed, and they were giving away all that stuff. So it was used sheet metal that I got for free. But you could. I don't know how much it costs. Check and see if it's price prohibitive. Check for. They make those poly roofing panels for like sheds and things like that. They're clear usually, so that could be something that you could try. I don't know of any other good options right offhand. But I want to say that Lowe's has those maybe. I don't know what you have in your area. Let me check real quick. Yeah, poly roof panels are, they're kind of expensive, aren't they? Good grief, when did everything get so expensive? You just have to shop around a little bit, unfortunately. These prices are a little high, actually. I'm looking at these, and I don't have time to look at it in too much detail. So, but what I'm seeing here is like the poly roof panels. Looks like it's a 12-foot corrugated polycarbonate plastic roof panel, $26.98. Now it's 12 feet long. I don't know how wide it is. Probably 2 feet or something like that, I'm guessing. So you could cut it down, and because it's 12 foot long, you don't need a 12-foot long piece. You could cut it down in chunks, and you could probably get 3 of them out of one piece. So, $25, $26 for one piece that could probably do the whole roof for you. It'd be pretty close. I don't know if that's if that's expensive or not. You can check around and see if there's something else. That's the only thing that comes to mind right offhand. Or just like I said, watch Craigslist and people giving away old scrap that they're getting rid of. Find somebody who has an old barn that they want to tear down or something like that. See if you can salvage some stuff off of it. All right. Roads and Valley Rabbitry says, how are you doing? Any big plans for the nice weekend coming up? Well, I don't have any big plans for it. I'm really not sure exactly what I'm going to be doing this weekend. I need to get some garden chores finished up. But other than that, I don't know. I did all that work in the garden this weekend. I posted the video, and the video probably doesn't look like I'm doing a whole lot of work, but turned a compost pile, got a whole bunch of stuff, out from underneath the rabbit hutch, put on the garden beds, a quail hutch. It was actually quite a bit of work. And then for the next 2 days, I was walking funny, like, oh, my legs hurt. Oh, I was so sore because I haven't been out in a while and doing anything. So, but I need to do some more. But I don't know if I'll get out there and get that done this weekend or not. We'll see. Blessed with Pets says, I got all my does to lift this week after struggling for so long. I've been struggling with fertility as well. So we'll see about the part in the next 30 days. Yeah, good. If you got them all to lift, I'm sure you're going to have at least one litter. So I know you've been having problems with that, but hang in there. It's going to get better. Joe Sandy says, I checked Craigslist. Believe it or not, the rusty stuff is selling for a prime price. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, that stuff has gone up, I guess. And you said, I thought about trying Coroplast. It's like corrugated cardboard, only made of plastic, like what they use to make political signs. That'd probably work. I don't see why it wouldn't. Billy Glass says, Jacob, that's in the That's wait, Jacob, that's in all the animal kingdom, even us. We are always ready, but she has a headache, lol. Well, you're right. Yeah, it's not uncommon at all. It's usually the males that are much more excited about it than the females. RBL Jackson says, yo, what's up, y'all? Well, what's up with you? Hopefully you're doing well. Glad to see you. And then we came to the end of the comments. So I got to kill some time for a second while we get a couple more comments in here. So I guess back to weekend plans, because I don't know exactly what I've got going on. I got a few things I need to get an oil change. I don't change my own oil anymore because it's actually not that much more expensive for me to have them do it than it is for me to do it myself. It's about $25 more than what I could buy all the stuff and do it myself. But I'd pay somebody $25 to change my oil. So I figure I just pay them $25. Let them do the oil change for me. I don't have to dispose of it or anything. So that's good. What else is going on this weekend? So I'll probably get that done. Try to get that done this weekend. It seems like there was something I needed to get done, and I don't remember what it was right offhand. So who knows? Maybe it'll sneak up on me. Like I said, I need to get that other compost pile turned and get that compost on the garden, get those garden beds covered up. Something else too. Oh, I got to go take some pictures of some food. My cousin is a restaurant manager, and they need some pictures for their website. So I may try to get that done this weekend, get some pictures of their, go over and photograph their food for them so they can put it up on their website. Joe Sandy says, I got my Nurture Right 360 and a quail turner yesterday. We'll be ordering hatching eggs from my shire soon. I'm excited. No kidding. It's good to be excited about that. I mean, that's something to be excited about, I should say. That's pretty exciting indeed. Make sure you check with them. This is their busy time of year. You may be out a little while, so you may want to get your order in pretty quick so you can get in line. Sundial Fragrance says, just moved 15 baby quail from the incubator to the brooder. I have a 50% hatch rate for this ones, and they are jumbo. Not sure if it's the incubator or shipping. However, these are jumbo quail. Well, 50% isn't terrible, so don't feel too bad about that. But first thing I would always check is the temperature in the incubator. Get a couple of calibrated thermometers, make sure they're accurate, throw them in your incubator and see if it's actually heating to the temperature it says it is, and verify that with those thermometers, because that's usually an issue with the low hatch rate. But it could be a number of things. With shipped eggs, you're always going to get a little bit, not always, but usually going to get a little bit lower hatch rate. But 50% is not terrible. So, even if everything went right and you only got 50%, that's still not that bad. Rosen Valley Quail, or Rosen Valley Rabbitry, sorry, says it looked like a good out for the past, what? It looked like a good out for the past weekend. I have to work on my garden, but we plan on moving soon, so might have to plant in buckets so easier to move. I think you're saying it looks like it's going to be nice out this weekend, I guess. Yeah, I think that's what it means. But yeah, if you're going to be moving, that makes it tough for sure. If you don't have one, pick up a couple of garden towers. I mean, you can move those things pretty easily, and you can grow a lot of stuff in those. They're fantastic as far as container gardens go. And I've got a discount, so go to my link. You can get a discount off of it. It's always in the description of my videos. Not the live, but other videos. Blessed with Pet says, 2 of them were bred to a very young first-time buck, so he should be pretty fresh and fertile. He got 8+ fall-offs on one of them. 8+, good grief. Yeah, that's probably a pretty good bet that you're going to see some babies coming up here pretty soon. I've got, my doe. I don't know, my blue one. I'm not sure if she's pregnant or not, but really about a week and a half to 2 weeks from now, she should be giving birth if she is. Jacob Wolf says, I'll try rebreeding her this weekend with all the nice weather, and I'll have time. I tried again later that night, and she still just laid there. Yeah, that's usually what happens. They're just no interest until all of a sudden they do. And there's so many different factors that go into that. Sometimes there's just not much you can do, but just keep trying and be patient. Sundial Fragrance says, not sure if it's the jumbo quail breed. I'm not lucky with this one. No problem with the standards. Usually, it shouldn't be. I don't have really low hatch rates. I raise jumbos. I don't really have terrible hatch rates with them. Every once in a while I have a bad hatch, but for the most part, they're pretty decent hatches. Joe Sandy says, but I'm nervous about keeping the humidity right. Thought about trying a dry hatch, but I doubt Zach would like that. I don't know. Well, it depends on, as far as the hatching goes, doing a dry hatch or not. Don't stress too much about humidity. It's not nearly as important as temperature. Now, with that being said, like here, it's wintertime. Our humidity is really, really low. In summer, it's pretty high, but in the winter, it's really dry. I mean, my skin dries out pretty bad. That time you're going to need to add some water to it because, it's just too dry out. Now, in the summertime, whenever the humidity is 75%, 70%, I can do a dry hatch. It's not that big of a deal. Even when I do a dry hatch, though, I usually add a little bit to the incubator during lockdown. You don't want to go too high on humidity, so you want to be careful on that sense. But for the most part, just do your best to kind of maintain it 50% or 60% humidity, and you're going to be doing just fine. You're not going to need to worry about it too much. David Lister says, do you keep your doe rabbits together long-term in the same cage and bucks? No, I don't. My breeders all have their own separate cages. My grow outs, when I grow them out to size, I either sell them or process them, and then they're done. I mean, I don't keep rabbits in groups. They're not really pack animals. They tend to prefer to live on their own. Now, they can bond. It is true that rabbits can bond, and you can have a bonded pair that get along great. But for the most part, it's best to keep them separate because that's just what they are. I mean, they tend to be solitary for the most part, except for breeding season. Steve says, question, have a 30 by 60 cage I want to use to start my quail in. How many hens and roosts can I comfortably raise in there? I have jumbo browns, if that matters. A 30-inch by 60-inch, boy, you're going to make me do math here. Let me pull up something I can do math with. So 30 inches by 60 inches, that means it's going to be 2.5 by 5 feet, or what's that, 11 square feet? That's probably way off, isn't it? What's my 12.5 square feet? So the general rule of thumb is about one bird per square foot. So you're looking at probably, honestly, if it was me, 15 birds in there is probably a pretty good number. Now, if you're just using it for like a grow out pen and you want to, just raise them up to process them at 8 weeks or 10 weeks or 12 weeks old, you could put like 25 in there and it'd be okay. But for a breeding pen, you want to keep breeders in on long term. I don't think I'd go over about 18 in there. That's probably pushing it. But that should, you're doing fine with that. Don't stress too much about that. It does seem like a whole lot you're crowding them in there, but they tend to kind of group together anyway. So it's really not as bad as it sounds. Joe Cindy says, yes, I contacted him a few days ago. He said 3 to 5 days. That's why I'm chomping at the bit to get a hutch built. The one I have will be too small. Well, you've got to, I shouldn't say this. I'm going to say this. You've got a little bit of time. You're going to get the eggs. You're going to incubate 14 days. And then it's really going to be like 3-4 weeks before they're really big enough that it's going to make a big difference with how big the hutch is. At the same time, though, it's very smart to get your hutch built first, have everything ready so you're not, having to rush to get it done in the end. Gold Pro Unlimited says, hey, Slightly Redneck, my jumbos are losing a lot of feathers. Is that normal this time of year? Yeah, it's not abnormal. It sounds like molting, probably. They molt a couple of times a year, and it's usually right around the change of the season for whatever reason. Mine seem to want to molt whenever we get a cold front that moves through. I don't know why. They're crazy. But yeah, that's pretty common. Not a big deal. Just, as long as you got a decent protein level, over 20%, they should recover pretty quick. You're looking at maybe a week or two, and then they'll be fine. Buck Reynolds says, just saying hello to everyone. Well, hello to you too. Chris Mason says, we love the earth boxes. They have done really well for us, and they have wheels so we can move them around too. Yeah, I haven't used those. Are probably good. The one I've got, the green stalks that I've got, it's a big, tall planter. vertical, so you can plant quite a bit in it. And it's on like a lazy Susan type thing, so I can spin it, I can roll it around. But you can take the levels apart too. So if you had to move, you could just take a level off and move them that way. It takes up a very small footprint too. So it's great we grew carrots, we grew, all kinds of radishes, a bunch of different salad greens in it. We've grown What else? Bok choy, herbs do well, basil, dill, that kind of stuff. I mean, there's my sister did green beans in hers, and it did great. I really like them. They do really really well. Um, Joe Sandy says, I've been catching up on your old videos. Whatever became of your solar light? Nothing, unfortunately. It just didn't. I tried to run the Kickstarter. It never got back, never got funded. Tried to do it a couple of different ways. Just couldn't get it done. So, yeah, it's unfortunately, there just wasn't enough interest. George says, my newest batch of quail at 4 weeks, 10 males, 3 females, total of my last 2 hatches. 21 males, 3 females out of 24, way too many males. Yeah, it sounds like it. 10 males and 3 females. Oh my gosh, that's bad luck. And then 21 out of the total. Huh? Oh my gosh, that is bad luck. I mean, it always seems like I get more roosters than hens, but that seems ridiculously high. Roads and Valley Rabbitry says, looks like a good workout. Sorry about that. LOL. And yes, I will check out your website link. What are we talking about? Looked like a good work. Okay. Oh, okay. Never mind. I'm with you now. It took me a minute because we talked about that a few minutes ago. The workout in the garden this weekend. Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, it was a little bit of work. It wasn't that much work. It's just I'm kind of old and a little bit out of shape, and it's wintertime, so I've been kind of cooped up. I haven't gotten out and done anything for a while, and yeah, it was I was sore for a couple of days, but I'm over it now. I'm fine. Blessed with Pet says, it was funny. She was 3 times the size of him, and he's only like 3 or 4 months old, but getting the job done. 3 or 4 months old's a little bit young. I mean, he may very well be trying, but I don't know that. That's kind of young for a buck to be fertile. We'll see. GoPro Unlimited says, smash the thumbs up for Chris. Oh, thank you very much. We got 39 people in here, 23 likes. Not bad. That's pretty good. Sundial Fragrance says, what breed of rabbit would you recommend for starters? Should I get just 1 buck to start with or a pair? Well, you can do it either way you want. If you're just getting started, you may want to start off with just 1 buck and 2 does. That's plenty. You're not going to have any problem. You're not going to get kind of over your head right off the bat. You can start off with 1 buck and 1 doe, and that would be fine to get started with because you can always add more later. There's not a big deal. As far as what kind of rabbit this just comes up like every other live broadcast, it seems like. Very common. I've done a shot video on it before. Maybe I need to do it again. There's a lot of different breeds out there that make good meat rabbits. Now, if you're looking for meat rabbits, probably going to find a plethora of New Zealand whites or Californias, and both of them are excellent choices for meat rabbits. Your New Zealands are, if you can find purebred rabbits, a purebred New Zealand and a purebred California, and then breed those together, you're going to have pretty good results as far as meat rabbit, stock goes. You don't want to use those babies necessarily as breeders, but you get that hybrid vigor from the first, offspring, not the first offspring, but that first level. Those 2 bred together, their babies have the hybrid vigor, if that makes sense. They wouldn't make necessarily, the babies wouldn't necessarily make great, breeders to use in the future, but great meat rabbits, good fast growth, hardy, all those kinds of things go along with that. So New Zealand whites, if you can't find, a New Zealand and a California, you get 2 New Zealands, that's fine too. 2 Californias, that's fine. Those are both great meat rabbits, are probably the 2 most popular for good reason. They both have large litters, fast grow out. They both make great meat rabbits. That's pretty much what they're bred for. Silver foxes, what I'm using now, they work great too. My silver foxes don't have as big a litters. They don't grow as fast as what I've had with my New Zealand whites, but I do like the silver fox because they're just a little bit easier for me to handle. They're a little bit less neurotic and crazy, especially New Zealands. New Zealands do tend to be a little bit nutty and kind of hard to handle. Not necessarily aggressive, but just skittish. And so when you pick up a 10-pound, 10.5-pound rabbit and it doesn't want to be held and it's kicking its feet like crazy, you better make sure you have some long sleeves on because they'll scratch you up. But and again, that's not necessarily aggression. They're just a little bit jumpier and harder to handle. Standard Rex would make a good meat rabbit. Not the mini Rex, but the standard Rex. What else? Florida whites, Giant chinchillas make a good one. I'd stay away from Flemish giants. The Flemish giant tends to be a little bit bonier, not as good meat to bone ratio. They tend to have really slow grow outs. They're just not a good meat rabbit, in my opinion. But I mean, if that's all you can get, that'll work. They're just not the best option out there. I'm sure there's something else I'm going to be missing. If Verna was here, she'd say Havanas. That's probably a good option as well. There's a whole bunch of different breeds you can get. Get what you can get. Try to get a purebred, a pedigreed rabbit for your breeders if you can. But if you can't, don't stress about it too much. Steve says, yes, it will be for breeders. Thank you. Talking about the size of your rabbit or your quail hutch, I think it was. So, yeah, you're welcome. Joe Sandy says, then I get thrown into butchering my babies right away. What? Oh, I missed a comment. You were talking to George. You said, George, that's what I'm afraid of, too many males. Then I get thrown into butchering my babies right away. Chris, I feel your pain. I worked outdoors all Tuesday. Could barely walk Wednesday. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how that happens, isn't it? It just getting old, I guess, because, I didn't used to have those problems, but now it's like every time. Of course, I'm not nearly as active as I used to be, especially in the wintertime. Megan says, hey, sorry, just got on from Austin, Texas. No need to apologize. We're glad you're here. Jacob Wolf says, what's your favorite type of pasta? Also, any plans for some cooking videos? I don't have any specific plans for them right now, but I'm sure I'll do something at some point. We'll see. I don't know. As far as favorite type of pasta, boy, that's a tough one. I mean, probably the most common type we eat is spaghetti, just because it's easy and, spaghetti is pretty simple, especially when I got a whole bunch of deer meat in the freezer. It's a good, easy, quick thing to do after work. I made a shepherd's pie the other night with some deer meat. That was really good. But pasta, I don't know. Is that my favorite? I'm not huge on pasta like everybody else. I'm not huge on bread either. They're just kind of, to me, like, I like pasta just fine. I like a good spaghetti, or I'm not much for Alfredo. It's a little too rich for me. I like tomato-based sauces, so spaghetti's a good one. I like all of those just fine, but it's not like I'm not like, ooh, pasta, gotta have it. I don't know. It's not a big deal to me. And bread is one of those things that, I'll have a sandwich every once in a while, and sometimes like a grilled cheese and tomato soup sounds really good or something, but for the most part, bread is like filler. It's like if there's not enough other good stuff to eat, well, then I'll eat bread. It's okay, but it's not like really good. Like everybody just loves bread. I don't know. It's weird. I don't dislike it. It's not that big a deal to me. We'll buy it like a loaf of bread. We very seldom go through a loaf of bread before it molds. Roads and Valleys says, my internet connection is bad where I live, so I might be a little behind, but I'm still here. That's okay. We're not judging you. I am blessed and lucky to have decent internet connection most of the time. Most of the time it's decent. George says, if I was to branch out into rabbits, my wife would kill me. She avoids the patch of our land where the quail are because of the stink. Really, I don't really notice that it stinks that bad. Of course, my sense of smell is not what it used to be since I had COVID, a couple of years ago, but still, I'd never really noticed it being all that bad, unless it's like super rainy and really wet out. Then it definitely does. But Joe Sandy says, understood, George. I have limited space too. I haven't butchered yet, so not looking forward to that. But we'll have to learn. Yeah, you're going to have to learn, or otherwise you're going to end up with too many birds. You're going to end up with other problems. So yeah, it's a hard thing if you haven't done it before. It's a hard thing to you just got to get out of your head. Don't overthink it. Don't worry about it. Just do it when it comes time to it, and it'll be okay. Blessed with Pet says he's 17 weeks old, a mini Rex. So, well, I guess for a smaller rabbit like that, it's probably okay. David says, have you had New Zealand Reds? I had one New Zealand Red doe one time for like just a month and a half or 2 months. I think I got one litter out of her. She was crazy. She'd lunge at you and growl every time you got near the cage and put your hands in there. I got rid of her because I just couldn't. She was just a handful to try to to deal with. I remember I had gloves on one time, I had my fingers pulled back, but she grabbed the glove off my hand. It's like she was crazy. So I got rid of her. I'm not saying all New Zealand Reds are like that. The one I had was. George says, first time is hard, Joe Sandy, especially if it's your first hatch and you get friendly with them, then you get used to it when you treat them as a meat and egg source. Yeah, it's it's hard. I mean, I grew up in a family that was fairly poor when I was growing up, and we were a country family, so we did a lot of hunting and fishing, and we supplemented our meat, our food with all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I kind of grew up around knowing where my food came from, knowing, all those things. But even for me, the first time I had to like by hand dispatch an animal, it was a little hard to do. It was a little bit nerve wracking, I guess. And, but once you do it once or twice, you learn. Like I said, just don't overthink it. Try to kind of disconnect from the process you're in. Be as humane as possible. Try to treat them right. That makes a difference. Megan says, if you are like me in Texas, you have to think about heat tolerant for meat rabbits. Well, everywhere, honestly, Megan. I mean, I know in Texas you think that it gets hotter than anywhere else in the world, but it doesn't actually. Missouri gets really hot in the summertime too, so we deal with the same thing. It's not necessarily hot as long as it is in Texas, but it gets just as hot, if not hotter, here sometimes. I remember when I lived in Texas, walked outside one day for break, and people were like, wow, it's hot out here. I bet you wish you were back in Missouri today. And I said, well, it's hotter there than it is here. And they didn't believe me. I had to look it up on the phone, the weather app, and yeah, see, look, hotter there. And then they said, well, you don't have the humidity. It's 75% humidity. It's humid, So, but yeah, it's, heat tolerance is the thing for sure. Keep them in the shade, keep them, from, plenty of ventilation and in the shade out of direct sun, and they'll usually do okay. Megan says, we're building your quail hutches, coping from you. We're building our quail hutches. Okay, I think that's copying. Okay, we're building our quail hutches, copying from you. That makes sense. Do you have trouble with them popping up? First-time quail breeder. They almost 3 weeks old, and they're popping up like crazy right now. Oh, yeah, 3 weeks old. They're like little popcorn things. That's pretty common. But no, as far as like problems with them, like injuring themselves or any of those kinds of things, no, I don't have any issues with that. And they calm down pretty quick. Sometimes they still get a little panic whenever I open the hutch up, but for the most part, they're usually pretty calm. I mean, I have to stick my hand in there and kind of move them to the side so I can get to the eggs because they don't even run away from me anymore. Buck says, if you breed rabbits for meat, stay away from show rabbits, usually small litter. Yeah, that's true too. Spider Reva says, Chris. I think there's probably more to that, but that was all that came through. Joe Sandy says, Chris, how long after you butcher a quail can you eat it? How long do you have to wait? Well, pretty much with any kind of animal that you're going to be processing, whether that's you hunt it, you butcher it yourself, any of those kinds of things, you want to let the meat rest until the rigor mortis has left. For a quail, that's usually probably 1 to 2 days, something like that. I put them in the fridge, let them sit for usually about 2 days, sometimes 3. It just depends on how busy I am. And then I get them all either vacuum sealed up or cooked at that point. Same thing for rabbits, really. Rabbits, quail, deer, chicken, anything like that. You want to let it sit, wait for the rigor mortis to leave. Now, you could process it and use it right away, like very quickly, but you'd have to do it very quickly. You want to do it before the rigor mortis sets in. Otherwise, it's going to be super tough and not real pleasant. Megan says, for smell, use lime. That's probably a good suggestion. Spider Reva says, Chris, when it comes to cleaning the sandbox for your quail, do you cover your nose and mouth? Is it recommended? It's probably best practice. I don't. I just do it. Let the dust fly. I don't care. But yeah, I probably should cover my nose and mouth. I don't know. I just didn't grow up doing that. We just didn't do any of that stuff growing up, so I never got the habit of it. But it probably is best practice. It's pretty dusty. Blessed with Pets says, what's your opinion on people who breed rabbits for pets? Those people are I don't have a bad opinion about them. I don't care. You breed them for pets if you want to. I don't have a bad opinion one way or the other. It's about the individual person, whether they're good. I don't know. I don't know them very well, so I can't have an opinion. But no, if you want to breed for pets, do it. There's money in the pet market. People will pay a lot more for pets than they will for meat rabbits. So, definitely, I can see why there would be an appeal there. And if your thing is you really like rabbits and you like pet rabbits and that's just where your heart is, I mean, who cares? That's your deal. Go for it. I like dogs quite a bit. I'm not probably going to start breeding dogs. I mean, that's not my thing, but I like dogs quite a bit. I could see getting attached to dogs or getting attached to rabbits or getting, whatever. Joe Sandy says, I grew up like you, Chris, but I wasn't the one who dispatched all the critters. Yeah, well, we didn't raise animals that we dispatched. We hunted and we fished. So I guess we were kind of dispatching animals, but it was like, when you're hunting, it's from a distance with a rifle, not up close and personal with your hands. Blessed with Pets says, our little Pyrenees pups are 6 weeks old today. Sold our first one this morning and did all their shots today. I can't wait for the chicken swap next Saturday. Well, awesome. Sounds like you got some exciting things going on there. You said you made $600 on one puppy. Holy cow, that's a lot of money. That makes me want to breed dogs. No, not really. But yeah, that's quite a bit for one dog. Joe Sandy says, thanks for answering all my maybe silly questions. Not silly at all. You're perfectly welcome. If I didn't have questions to answer, I wouldn't have a live broadcast to do because, like I said, I don't have a topic planned out. It's all about just trying to answer questions and have a conversation with everybody. Joe Sandy says, hunting, fishing, all sorts of fowl, plus some other strange things. What does that say? Country folk. Yeah. Other strange things like what? What are some strange things that you had when you were a kid? I was the one that we ate squirrel, we ate rabbit, we ate frog legs. Frog legs are really good. Crawdads, all kinds of different things like that. Deer is pretty common. Squirrel, yeah. I like squirrel. Squirrel's pretty good. I haven't actually had it in a while. I haven't done any squirrel hunting in several years. And I have them in the back, but we had turtle one time. One time I had turtle. It was okay. Wasn't great. We have rabbits, here in the yard that I, kind of thin out everyone, or not rabbits, squirrels that I thin out. We have rabbits too, but squirrels I thin out every once in a while because they eat all my fruit trees. They're just a nuisance. They're overcrowded. And, but I don't know. Eating a city squirrel just, I don't know. It just doesn't seem right to me. It seems like they might be eating too much garbage and stuff. So I've never eaten one of the city squirrels. I've always, hunted them out in the wild. But Joe Sandy says, I did not like the beaver or turtle. I'm not sure. I may have had beaver before. That wasn't something we hunted and had as a regular time when I was a kid. But I went to, I've been to a couple of times to, they put on a, what's it called? It's like a beast feast type thing in the local church here. It's not called wild game feed or something like that. I can't remember where, they put on a big meal and you get all these different kinds of weird wild game. You get a little cup of it and then a pulled pork sandwich. And then they have a speaker that gets up there and speaks. And usually somebody that's, hunting related or something like that, fairly famous Christian guy that gives us testimony. Could be a girl too, but gives their testimony, tells you about hunting and, their experience with doing it. So it's a pretty good event. It's kind of fun to go to. And they'll have a lot of weird things like bobcat. I don't know if they had beaver. I may have tried beaver. Wild hog, raccoon, possum. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that they cook, and it's all crock pot and barbecued. All of it, but none of it all that great. Tony from Toronto, good to see you. Joe Sandy says, but then I don't like strong tasting fish either. Only like crappie and bluegill. Yeah, that's kind of my choice too. I like crappie, bluegill, rock bass or goggle eye, whatever you call them. They're all kind of that pan fish kind of thing. I'm not big on bass, real fishy fish either. It's not my favorite. So yeah, crappie's really good. Rock bass is very similar. Bluegill's really good if you can find one big enough to fillet. Gumbo Galahad said, raccoons are good if you know how to clean them. Miss one scent gland and the smell coming out of the pot or the oven will run you out of the kitchen. I can imagine. I've had raccoon before, but I've never cleaned it for cooking. I've never thought of eating raccoon. It was just kind of one of those things that I don't see why not, but yeah, it's, I don't know. Squirrel though. I like squirrel quite a bit. I could have that pretty frequently and be okay. Wash Tub Dolly says, tuning in from Florida. Hello, all. Well, hello to you too. Thanks for joining us. About almost out of time. We only got about 11 minutes left, but you made it, so it's all good. Megan says, my husband fishes a lot, bass, which I could swap with others for other things like chicken and quail and goat. Wish I could, not which. Wish I could swap. I thought you said which I could, and I was like, wow, that's a good deal. You're swapping bass for a goat. But yeah, I'm not. I don't typically eat bass for a couple of reasons. One is everybody fishes for them, so I don't want to deplete the population. Just catch and release on bass. And the other one, I don't really care for them that much. They're not that good eating to me. So I focus more on, if I want to eat fish, we only eat fish a couple times, fresh fish, like from the rivers around here, a couple of times a year. And I just, pull up next to a brush pile and jig out some rock bass or something like that. Joe Sandy says, one prominent memory, all the buckshot every time we ate wild rabbit my grandpa hunted. Yeah, always had that. Hard on the teeth for sure. But I know the feel. Yeah, that's a pretty common thing. Yeah, that's why, I know a lot of people hunt squirrel with a 12 gauge. I hunt them with a 22, just because they're not running when you're shooting at them. So you don't need the shotgun, in my opinion. Rabbit's a little different. Rabbit is usually, they're fast moving. You're not shooting them when they're just sitting still. They're on the run, and you need a shotgun to take care of them. Spider Reva says, my wife asked if you had guinea pig. They're very popular in Ecuador. Yeah, I know they are. I thought about, I've never eaten them. I'm sure it's good. Why wouldn't it be? But it's basically just like a squirrel, right? Slightly different shape and all that, but very similar, I would think. Who knows? I thought about breeding them for a while because, I know that they're very popular in like Ecuador and somewhere else too that eats them. But anyway, they'll take care of their own. You can have like a big colony and they'll just take care of themselves. Basically, you just feed them. That's it. But they're really slow producers. They're not. It wouldn't be sustainable. Hello, Governor says, is 10 months too late to breed a doe? No, that should be fine. 10 months. You want to get her bred before she gets too much over a year old, because then after that, she may be a little reluctant to breed if she hasn't bred at that point. But 10 months isn't too old. It should be fine. Joe Sandy says, doesn't Verna raise them? Guinea pigs? She used to. I'm not sure. I think she got rid of them and switched them out for Havana rabbits. But she was raising them for a while. And I actually may have eaten some because she did bring some, I want to say, to QuailCon last year or maybe the year before. And I think I sampled it. Blessed with Pets says, I really think both my Nigerian dwarf goat does are pregnant, so that's exciting. Well, that is exciting for sure. I would like to have goats, but it's just not really practical for me here in the city. It just doesn't. I'd have to build a lot better fencing, and I don't want to do that. Plus, there's only so much I can do here without drawing too much attention and getting the neighbors all mad at me. George says, I can't believe you guys have QuailCon. I'm sure it's a hoot. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a lot of fun. We have a David's leaving. It looks like, says, thanks, Chris. Enjoyed the info. Good night. Well, good night to you too. So yeah, QuailCon held at My Shower Farm in Miamisburg, Ohio, Labor Day weekend, every year, September 1st, 2nd, somewhere right around whatever that weekend is. It's Friday. It's a Saturday and Sunday event. And then there's speakers. There's people that will get up and speak. There's classes going on during the day, different topics. Most of them quail related, but some of them, we had some other things going on. We had a guy there last year that was fascinating, talk about other animals that you could raise or other animals he raised, and pigeons and things like that were kind of cool. Hopefully he's going to be back this year. We had an MPIP guy talking about MPIP. That's a really pretty interesting talk. I was kind of hesitant about that one, thinking, the government guy, but it was actually pretty good. I really enjoyed that. And he's been there for a couple of years, so I've heard him before. He's a nice guy. What else? A big quail dinner, that night. That's kind of the highlight. We all get together, sit together like a great big family and have quail for dinner. It's pretty good. Just hanging out with everybody for the weekend. It's a great time. It's a lot of fun. George says, we've got nothing like that in Australia. It's mainly farm fairs, which are boring. Yeah, it's kind of I don't know. I guess it's kind of a newer thing around here. I say newer. I mean, within the last 10 years or so, it's really become more of a thing, these conventions and things where, usually, I mean, there's several of them go on. We've got the Ozark Homesteading Fest that goes on, or convention, I guess, that goes on in, where is that? Where Baker Creek is located. Marshfield, is that right? Marshfield, Missouri? Anyway, it's right here locally. I've never actually been to that. It just never works out that I can go. But you usually get some, YouTube personalities or, somebody like that comes in and does a speech for you. And they're fun. They're a good time especially if you have kind of a like-minded group. And the thing about quail cons, we've been going 3 years now, so this will be the 4th year, I guess. And you see a lot of the same people over and over again. So you form relationships. It's kind of like a big reunion every year. We get together. Everybody knows each other already. It's kind of nice. So, and Tara says, happy Leap Day. And QuailCon is awesome. I agree. It is. Yeah, happy Leap Day indeed. Fat Country says, hey, been having a hard time finding pedigree New Zealand rabbits, Riverview, Florida. Well, I wish I could help you out. I don't know of anybody that's a breeder around there. Keep looking. I mean, you'll find something eventually. Check with like 4-H clubs at schools and that kind of stuff. A lot of the times they'll have that. If you have like state fairs, any of that kind of stuff that goes on, you can check at those places too. Blessed with Pets says, scored a good trade. We're trading our turkey trio for 2 I am Sermani 6-month-old hens. There you go. I always have a hard time with that, but hopefully I got it right. Spider Reva says, has anyone tasted alligator? It's pretty good. Yeah, I've had alligator before. It's like chicken, right? It's very similar. Joe Sandy says, does Whiskey Tango Farm sells hatching eggs? Haven't seen them around lately. I haven't talked to them in a while. I mean, last I heard they were still selling eggs, but I don't know. Go check out their website and see. I think they're, let me see if I can pull it up. Oh, let's see their shop. There we go. Shop Whiskey Tango Farms. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like they still have hatching eggs for sale. So they've got them. What the heck is that? Oh, that's their dog. Okay. Big picture on their website. It looked like a big walrus or something. I didn't know what it was. Blessed with Pets says, we love to eat bass here in Louisiana. Yeah, but to be fair, you guys eat all kinds of weird things in Louisiana, don't you? Actually, they're probably not that weird compared to the things I eat, too. I mean, I eat most of the weird things. George says, Chris, all as always, this has been great. See you next week. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, we're about time to wrap up. We got like 2 minutes left. So guess we should start saying our goodbyes. If you're from my part of the country, it takes half an hour to say goodbye. Jacob says, I'm hoping to meet a bunch of you this year at QuailCon. This will be my first time going. Well, awesome. Make sure you stop and say hi to everybody because it's a big friendly group. You're going to make lots of friends. Joe Sandy says, I would love to attend QuailCon maybe this year. Yeah, try it. I don't know where you're coming from, but there's hotel options around. He opens up the his big field for camping, so you could tent camp, RV camp, any of those kinds of things if you'd rather do that. We usually get a hotel room because I need a shower. I'm not against camping. I kind of enjoy it, but when I'm around that many people, I need to shower. You guys would appreciate that I do shower and don't camp out in the tent after being all hot and sweaty all day. Hello, Governor says, I bred doe 2 months ago. She became very territorial. She will bite and honk, so I can't really clean the cage. Is that normal? Some does are like that, but 2 months ago, does she have babies with her now? Is that the issue? Some does are like really hard to deal with until they have babies, and then they're calm and mellow. And some are the other way around. They're just sweet, easy to deal with, and then they have babies and they become crazy. It's not abnormal, and sometimes it just varies from litter to litter. Like that, maybe if it's a first litter, it could be part of that. Who knows? All right, a bunch of good nights from everybody. I'm going to spend all day saying Good night to everybody, huh? Joe Sandy says Southeast Michigan, not that far. No, that's not that far. You got no excuse. I'm driving from Missouri. It's like 10.5-hour drive. Gumbo Galahad says, I'm a Cajun. If I can't run, swim, or fly away fast enough, it may end up on the plate. Yeah, I get it. All right, I guess we'll wrap it up here. We got really about a minute left, but this is probably a good place to end it. I don't have any open comments yet. So hey, it's great hanging out with you guys. It's always great hanging out. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Everybody does well this week. We'll see you guys back next week, I think. I don't see any reason why not at this point. So as long as nothing comes up, we'll be here next week. So thanks for joining me again. And as always, God bless.